The updated spirit guide, RGB number 10. The Sleeping Ghost. Brief summary. Slumber, the sleeping ghost, was a sorrowful blue spirit who wandered eternally in search of a peaceful resting place. After years of fruitless searching, it finally found solace in an empty California lot. However, in the 1960s, a film studio was built on the lot, and the spirit's hibernation was disrupted by the constant commotion of filming, which eventually woke the ghost in the 1980s. Primary canon. In the real Ghostbusters episode, Take 2, the iconic team is invited to Hollywood to oversee the making of a film based on their ghost-catching origins. However, during a tour of the studio, the Ghostbusters find themselves facing a real supernatural emergency when a dormant spirit is stirred and begins causing chaos. To their dismay, the Ghostbusters are mistakenly equipped with prop versions of the Proton Packs, leaving them in a perilous situation. Powers. The spectral entity known as Slumber, the sleeping ghost, possessed a formidable level 5 classification, granting it a vast array of supernatural abilities. Its spectral form was capable of soaring through the air with effortless grace, rendering it virtually undetectable as it moved with ethereal agility. Not only could it phase through solid matter, but it could also manipulate its own visibility, disappearing from sight at will. But that was not the end of the ghost's abilities. It also had the ability to possess inanimate objects, imbuing them with life. This ability proved to be particularly useful in its quest for sleep, as it could manipulate its surroundings and bend them to its will. And when the ghost merged with a colossal Megazord, its strength was unparalleled, as its supernatural power was augmented to unimaginable levels. The sheer force and terror that this amalgamation of ghost and machine exuded was enough to strike fear into the hearts of any who witnessed it. Truly, the sleeping ghost was a force to be feared, with its otherworldly abilities granting it an almost insurmountable advantage over its adversaries. Personality. Slumber, the sleeping ghost, was a massive blue apparition with huge teeth and weary swollen eyes. Its long muscular arms exuded a chilling aura, leaving a haunting impression upon all who encountered it. Despite its daunting appearance, Slumber's primary goal was not to haunt or scare, but rather to remain in a state of perpetual rest. The sleeping ghost was most content in a peaceful slumber, unaffected by the chaos and turmoil of the living world. However, any disturbance to this state would not only disrupt its tranquil rest, but also awaken a fierce and irritable side. It is unclear whether this grumpiness was simply a part of Slumber's usual demeanor, or if it was a side effect of being forcefully awoken from its deep hibernation. Nevertheless, one thing was certain: it was best to let the sleeping ghost lie. Trivia. In the original storyboards for the real Ghostbusters episode, Take 2, the sleeping ghost was depicted holding a blanket, wearing a nightcap and sleep mask. On page 31 of Ghostbusters, Annual 2018, in Panel 1, a ghost is based on the sleeping ghost. In the real Ghostbusters episode, Take 2, Slumber, the sleeping ghost, is shown using sign language. At the start of the real Ghostbusters episode, Take 2, Winston has attached a scope to his proton thrower. In the real Ghostbusters episode, Take 2, Peter thought that Robert Redford, a veteran actor, would have wanted to play him in the Ghostbusters movie. At the end of the real Ghostbusters episode, Take 2, when Peter sees Bill Murray, he comments that he doesn't look anything like him. On the real Ghostbusters Complete Collection, J. Michael Straczynski revealed the Megazord was a homage to the toys from all the shows he had done. On the real Ghostbusters Complete Collection, J. Michael Straczynski revealed that the deadly Dr. Crowley was indeed a homage to Frankenstein. Slumber, the sleeping ghost, can also be seen in the real Ghostbusters Christmas episode, Xmas Marks the Spot. Episode Summary. As the episode began, we got a sweeping view of LaGuardia Airport, situated in the bustling district of Queens, New York. A large crowd decked out in Ghostbusters merchandise was brandishing signs and had come together to catch a glimpse of their beloved heroes. A television journalist reported that the Ghostbusters were scheduled to leave town on the awaiting plane, but were nowhere to be seen. As the crowd grew impatient, everyone was left pondering the same question: where were the Ghostbusters? As night cloaked the city, the Ghostbusters raced down a darkened street in their iconic vehicle, the Ecto-1. The group frantically pursued a fearsome blue ghost with miniature wings as its haunting cries pierced through the darkness. Ray focused on driving, determined to catch up to the spirit, while Peter playfully joked that the airport was in the other direction. Winston expertly attached a scope to his proton thrower and leaned out of the window, carefully catching the ghost in his sights. He fired his thrower, and after a brief struggle, the spirit was captured, and the team raced off to the airport. Janine and Slimer were sat outside the fire station, their hearts were heavy with disappointment. While the rest of the Ghostbusters were leaving town, they were going to be stuck behind manning the phone. As the pair sat on the sidewalk, the rest of the team stopped by to bid their farewells before leaving for the airport. Slimer, being his mischievous self, quickly jumped onto the vehicle before it took off, leaving Janine in the street alone. As the airport began to clear out, the TV reporter prepared to conclude his segment by informing the viewers that the Ghostbusters had still not arrived. Suddenly, the Ecto-1 came barreling down the road with its sirens blaring, screeching to a halt at the entry gate. The Ghostbusters eagerly emerged from their car, poised to bask in the adulation of the anticipated crowd. The reporter angrily exclaimed that the crowd had already dispersed due to their tardiness, as one last fan eagerly waved his sign in the air. As the Ghostbusters rushed aboard the waiting plane, Peter jokingly told the reporter that he should watch his blood pressure before Slimer blew him a kiss. And with that, the team embarked on their journey to Hollywood, where they were to supervise the making of a movie about their thrilling adventures. The next day, the Ghostbusters were treated to a tour of the studio, which included a remarkable replica of their iconic firehouse. Ray commented that the set was incredibly realistic, as the producers explained that they were going for authenticity. Peter inquired who would be playing them in the movie, and the producers responded by showing the team the script. As the names of the actors, Hudson, Murray, Aykroyd, and Ramis, were read out, Winston remarked that they sounded more like a law firm. Peter asked Egon for his thoughts on the script. Egon jokingly remarked that at the very least, it was in English. Peter was unsure if that was a good thing or a bad thing. The studio head then guided the Ghostbusters inside the fake firehouse, offering to reveal the prop versions of their equipment for the film. In another soundstage at the same studio, two set builders were struggling to pry open a trapdoor. One of them mentioned that it hadn't been opened since the studio was first constructed nearly 20 years ago. The trapdoor abruptly swung open, and the task was completed. With that done, the set builders hurried off to retrieve additional equipment. As the duo made their way out of the soundstage, a menacing growl reverberated from down below. Unbeknownst to the set builders, their loud banging had awoken Slumber, the sleeping ghost, and it was far from happy. The studio head led the Ghostbusters through the firehouse set and boasted about its realistic details before ushering them through another door. As they entered, the team was transported to a strange planet with a vast starry sky above and futuristic domed cities in the distance. The studio head said that this must be the set for the containment unit universe for the movie. However, Peter confidently informed him that it did not look like this. Winston urgently motioned for Peter to divert his attention. There was something he needed to see. Suddenly, a monstrous metallic creature emerged and attempted to crush the Ghostbusters with a giant foot. Without any hesitation, the team quickly aimed their proton throwers and unleashed a barrage of fire at the creature. As Ray poised to toss his trap, the studio floodlights suddenly illuminated the set, and a voice called out for a cut. The Ghostbusters released their capture streams, causing the metallic creature to come crashing down to the ground. The director was furious and began screaming at the team that they had ruined a crucial shot he was trying to get for his movie. Peter retorted with anger, his tone sharp as he defended the Ghostbusters against the director's disrespectful words. The director asked Peter if he knew who he was, but Peter said he didn't care. No one spoke to the Ghostbusters like that. Before he could utter another word, the director ordered them all to leave, or he'd be forced to call security. A few moments later, the Ghostbusters emerged from the soundstage, with Peter appearing slightly worse for wear. Peter complained that the team should have allowed him to unleash his stream on the rude director. However, Egon reminded him that their proton throwers were only designed for catching ghosts. Peter jokingly replied that he would have found a way to make it work. The studio head apologized and quickly remembered that he was supposed to be presenting the movie's prop proton packs to the team. He swiftly guided the Ghostbusters to the prop storage room, where the studio housed an array of different props for their films. Unfortunately, the prop proton packs were nowhere to be seen. There was a prop trap and a prop sniffer, but no packs. The team was disappointed, and Peter grumbled about lugging around his bulky proton pack when there were no ghosts present. The studio head informed the team that they could leave their equipment in the storeroom for the remainder of the tour. The Ghostbusters carefully removed their bulky proton packs and placed them on a large table in the middle of the storeroom. Egon and Winston decided to hold on to their PKE meters, just in case there was any unexpected paranormal activity. Egon's meter suddenly registered a faint signal. However, in the blink of an eye, the reading vanished just as quickly as it had appeared. He attributed the signal to a false positive, most likely due to the abundance of electrical equipment at the studio. The studio head then politely ushered the Ghostbusters out of the room to continue the rest of the tour. As soon as the room was cleared, the prop manager entered with his assistant, carefully carrying the 4 prop proton packs for the movie. The duo was baffled, as they had thought their task was to bring the prop proton packs, not switch them out. They decided to take the other proton packs anyway, not realizing that the equipment actually belonged to the real Ghostbusters. Back on the futuristic planet set, the director was watching as a prop builder finished up repairing the huge metallic creature from earlier. The director bellowed, urging the prop builder to work faster, as he needed the Megazoid to be ready for the upcoming scene he was about to film. The Megazoid's eyes blazed with bright red light as it sprang to life. It leaned over the director, emitting a menacing growl as it ordered him to be quiet. The prop builder hastily leapt off his platform and fled in terror as the Megazoid's massive claw reached out to grab him. The director cried in terror and quickly ran for cover, narrowly avoiding the creature's claw as it came crashing down. Without any warning, the Megazoid's head suddenly split wide open, unveiling a monstrous, dragon-like head, complete with a massive gaping mouth. As the Ghostbusters leisurely made their way through the studio, nearing the end of their tour, a large crowd frantically ran past, fleeing from some kind of danger. Recalling their previous experience, the Ghostbusters didn't budge, and Winston declared he would not be fooled by the same stunt again. The studio head gestured towards a looming shadow at the end of the corridor. Peter couldn't help but joke that it looked very impressive. Egon took out his trusty PKE meter and began scanning the corridor, hoping to get a reading. After a few moments, he turned to the team and announced with certainty that he was detecting a powerful spectral entity. Without warning, the possessed Megazoid suddenly emerged from around the corner, telling the team to be quiet as it hastily closed in. The group quickly dashed in the opposite direction as the Megazoid gave chase, stamping after them. The studio head told the Ghostbusters to follow him back to the prop store so they could retrieve their proton packs. The team swiftly ducked into the room and pulled on their proton packs with determination as Winston boldly declared, "Time to bust this ghost." The Ghostbusters bolted back out of the prop store, their weapons at the ready, and the team primed their throwers as Peter told the ghost it was in big trouble. The team aimed their throwers at the Megazoid and fired, but instead of the usual stream of protons, the tips of the proton throwers started flashing. These were not the powerful proton packs the Ghostbusters were used to, these were the prop packs for the movie. Egon playfully quipped to Peter that he was partially correct, someone was in trouble, but it wasn't the ghost. The team ditched the fake proton packs and scrambled up a nearby staircase, effectively evading the creature's pursuit. As the Ghostbusters huddled on a narrow wooden walkway, Peter asked his teammates if they had any potential plans. Egon informed the team that he had just successfully adjusted his PKE meter, and Winston's as well, to detect the energy signals emitted by the real proton packs. Egon instructed Peter to take the lead, while Ray followed Winston in the opposite direction. Outside, the possessed Megazoid was causing chaos on the studio lot, commanding silence from everyone in its path. The ghost's attention was suddenly captured by an unexpected sound, a crackling voice emanating from a CB radio. The fierce Megazoid marched menacingly towards the car, ordering it to be silent. But the radio blared once more, provoking the Megazoid into smushing the vehicle and then stomping on the radio. In another part of the studio, Slimer was frantically searching the various dressing rooms for the Ghostbusters. As he darted from room to room, his anxiety grew. He couldn't find his beloved team of Ghostbusters anywhere. Slimer's heart raced as he caught what he thought was a glimpse of his team, and he eagerly rushed over. To Slimer's dismay, it was a colossal poster promoting the upcoming Ghostbusters film, and he couldn't stop himself from crashing straight into it, leaving a trail of slime. Back downstairs, Ray and Winston were scouring the lower levels in search of the team's Proton Packs. The duo found themselves in a peculiar room, resembling a Victorian laboratory inside a grand old castle. Upon seeing the set, Ray immediately recognized it. He told Winston it was the same set used in a popular franchise known as the Deadly Dr. Crowley. Ray enthusiastically shared with Winston that this particular franchise was one of his all-time favorites, as his eyes swept over the impressive set. He quickly located the controls for the special effects and began activating them one by one. With a flick of a switch, the set was plunged into darkness while bolts of lightning crackled through the air. As thunder shook the set, a massive trapdoor began to open beneath Winston, causing him to expertly leap out of harm's way. Unfortunately, just as he avoided the opening trapdoor, he accidentally dropped his PKE meter into the hole. Ray was captivated by the impressive special effects, but Winston's attention was drawn to a mysterious sound emanating from the hole. Before he could go to investigate, the possessed Megazoid emerged from the hole with a fierce expression on its face. As the intimidating Megazoid stood behind Ray, he remained oblivious as he tinkered with the complicated special effects panel. As soon as Winston laid eyes on the creature, he urgently called over to Ray that it was time to leave. Ray told Winston that he intended to try one final special effect before the pair left the set. However, the possessed Megazoid had a different plan in mind. It leaned towards Ray and told him to be quiet. Ray quickly spun around as the massive Megazoid prepared to strike, narrowly escaping its claw with a well-timed dive. Winston quickly helped Ray to his feet while exclaiming, "I told you, horror movies are bad for your health." The Megazoid lifted its massive arms into the air and bellowed for everyone to just be quiet. Ray and Winston swiftly ducked out of the set as it began to violently smash everything in its path. As Ray and Winston dashed down the corridor, they ran past Slimer, who was ecstatic to have finally found some friends, and quickly followed the pair. Egon and Peter found themselves standing in an old forgotten set, surrounded by crumbling fake walls and worn-out props. Peter asked Egon if they were getting any closer to their Proton Packs, while his teammate scanned a massive hole in the center of the room. Egon informed Peter that he was picking up a faint, yet potent signal from the depths below. He speculated that the sleeping ghost had been dormant in the deep hole before being awakened. Peter playfully joked that he hated being awakened early, especially when there was no breakfast involved. Egon theorized that the spirit had been in a state of hibernation due to a sensitivity to noise, and that was why it had been ordering everyone to be quiet. The pair agreed they would need to keep hushed, as not to enrage the ghost, and to avoid drawing its attention. Realizing this, Peter promptly contacted Winston and Ray through the radio to inform them of their findings. Ray yelled, "Roger, Roger," into his radio, causing Peter to quickly tell him to lower his voice before he explained Egon's theory. Ray and Winston stood on the porch of a saloon, taking in the dusty scenery as Slimer lazily rocked back and forth in an old rocking chair on a set designed to mimic the Wild West. Ray informed Peter that they would remain quiet and make it their priority to locate their teammates as quickly as possible. As Ray, Winston, and Slimer traversed the dusty streets of the western town, Ray confidently announced that the trio could take down the ghost, even without their Proton Packs. However, Winston and Slimer remained skeptical and exchanged doubtful glances with each other. Ray nodded in agreement and pointed ahead. He declared that the trio were on the right track and it was time to locate the rest of the team. Back with Egon and Peter, the pair quickly closed in on the team's gear, and Egon gestured towards a wooden storage bin, informing Peter that their proton packs were inside. Egon was right, and as he popped open the storage bin, Peter joked that if he could do the same for car keys, they could make a fortune. As Egon unloaded the proton packs, Peter radioed Ray and Winston, notifying them of the successful discovery and asking if they had seen the possessed Megazord. To Peter's dismay, the trio was already being pursued by the terrifying creature. In an urgent tone, he told them to regroup at the fake firehouse. The trio swiftly avoided the massive Megazord's attack as it kicked a hollow building across the set, narrowly missing them. Moments later, the trio burst into the soundstage, finding Egon and Peter fully equipped and eagerly awaiting their arrival. The Ghostbusters were stunned as the Megazord forcefully tore through the front of the building, while Peter joked that the ghost should have knocked before coming in. The Megazord sternly commanded Peter to silence his noise as both Peter and Egon hastily made a break for cover in the fake firehouse. The Megazord's massive grip snatched up 2 hefty pieces of debris, hurling them with unnatural force towards Peter and Egon. The debris smashed through the facade of the fake firehouse, leaving the pair exposed once more. Winston's voice echoed through the dark, calling out for Egon and Peter. Once he confirmed they were okay, he urgently requested for them to throw over the 2 remaining proton packs. Ray and Winston swiftly donned their equipment, and the entire team unleashed a barrage of protons at the Megazord. Egon reminded the team that in order to capture the spirit, they would need to extract it from the machine. While the Ghostbusters maintained their streams, the ghost suddenly erupted with a demand for silence, expressing its distress over the excessive noise. The spirit's robotic body proved too large for the team to hold onto, and it managed to break free from the proton streams. With supernatural speed, the Megazord sprang onto a catwalk above, dropping a bunch of sandbag weights on the Ghostbusters. The team swiftly fired at the weights, causing them to burst into a shower of sand that rained down on the group. Egon instructed the team to hold fire, as he had a new plan in mind, and he carefully removed his proton pack. The team was left puzzled, as Peter inquired about Egon's actions. However, Egon quickly silenced him with a gesture to keep quiet. Egon strode purposefully, determined to confront the Megazord. He called out for the ghost to come down, so they could talk. The creature leapt off the catwalk, scolding Egon for being too loud and commanding him to keep quiet. Egon skillfully communicated through sign language, motioning to the ghost that the Ghostbusters containment unit would provide a tranquil resting place for it. The rest of the team was left in awe as Egon's brilliant idea proved to be a success, and it was clear that his plan was working. As the Megazord creaked and groaned, the sleeping ghost slowly crept out, prepared to surrender. Just then, the rude director entered with a bang, zooming in on a security jeep, with blaring sirens, carelessly knocking into set pieces before screeching to a halt. With a megaphone in hand and accompanied by 3 security guards, he swiftly emerged from the jeep. The director issued orders for the guards to protect the Megazord from the Ghostbusters, oblivious to the unfolding events. The sleeping ghost was far from pleased with all the commotion, and accused the Ghostbusters of trying to trick it as it retreated back towards the Megazord. Egon wasted no time, hastily strapping on his proton pack and ordering the team to unleash their streams while the spirit was still vulnerable. The Ghostbusters sprang into action, quickly firing up their throwers and grabbing the sleeping ghost in a capture stream. After a brief struggle, Egon threw down his trap and the team managed to skillfully contain the angry spirit. Peter shouted at the director for jeopardizing his team, but the rude director justified himself by saying he needed to protect his investment. As the unpleasant director tapped on his massive animatronic, it began to wobble and crashed to the ground in pieces. The rude director cried out that his film was ruined, while Peter joked that it looked just like the director's previous film, a total mess. Winston told the director to cheer up, assuring him that he would send him a few tickets to the Ghostbusters movie once it was released, as Slumber waved goodbye. Several months later, it was finally the day of the premiere for the Ghostbusters' highly anticipated movie. The Ghostbusters pulled up late to the venue in the iconic Ecto-1, with the team ready to make a grand entrance. The Ghostbusters quickly jumped out and waved to the crowd as a TV reporter informed them that they were late for another important event. Ray apologized for the team's tardiness and handed the reporter a smoking ghost trap, asking him to hold onto it until they came back out. The team eagerly made their way into the cinema with popcorn and drinks in hand, just as the intro sequence for the movie began. They hurriedly slid into their seats, completely obstructing the view of Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray as they made their way past. As the movie flickered on the screen, the team indulged in buckets of buttery popcorn and snacks. Amidst the laughter and excitement, Peter couldn't help but quip that Bill Murray looked nothing like him. And with that, the city was safe again, at least for now. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate every one of you. Please like and subscribe, and get notified whenever we upload new content. And once again, thank you all. Till next time.